The topic today is really EPIP Conference 2016. The theme of the conference is Elevate Ourselves, Our Work, and Our World. And this webinar is going to be a chance to get a preview of what to expect at the conference this year. If you're new to EPIP, we'd love to welcome you to the webinar and introduce you to the organization a bit. EPIP stands for Emerging Practitioners in Philanthropy, and we are a national network of foundation professionals, social entrepreneurs, and other change makers who strive for excellence in the practice of philanthropy. And our mission is really to develop emerging leaders committed to building a just, equitable, and sustainable society. We do this by providing a platform for our community to connect with each other and others, to learn and practice leadership skills, and to inspire emerging ideas in the social sector. If you have questions about membership or EPIP, please feel free to reach out. My email is on the screen. It's biz@epip.org, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Just looking down the line, our next webinar is going to be on August 24th. It's in collaboration with EPIP San Diego, and they're bringing a speaker named Sarah Olson of the SVT group to speak about impact measurement, metrics, and data management. So please plan to join us on the 24th at 3 p.m. Eastern. And you can check out all the webinars and upcoming chapter events on our chapter page, epip.org/events, and register for any of those upcoming events. I know a lot of the local chapters have posted regional events recently, so take a peek and see what's up. And of course, conference registration. The conference is just around the corner, September 13 to 15. And the registration is still open. The hotel block is still open. Just a little bit more time. So if you or anyone you know is interested and hasn't signed up yet, please encourage them or make a note to yourself to get registered as soon as possible. For today's call, just some housekeeping. As I mentioned, the question box in your control panel is the best way to share technical difficulties or comments. If you have content questions, please also put those in the question box. I'm going to be trying to troubleshoot any small issues that come up throughout the webinar, and then at the end of today's presentation, we'll have time for question and answer about the content itself. So as questions arise, please feel free to type them in. That way we can jump right to them as soon as the question and answer portion begins. The questions are anonymous, though the call is being recorded. And if you want to follow along online, EPIP webinar is the hashtag we use for our webinar series. At the very end, you'll be prompted to complete a short post-webinar survey. And if you're able to just take that 1 minute to answer 7 questions, we really appreciate it. It helps us continue to provide meaningful content. So without further ado, I'm thrilled to introduce Megan, Jessica, and Storm, who are from EPIP DC, EPIP LA, and EPIP DC. They are wonderful leaders as part of our large planning committee this year. And as well, sorry, these photos are not very high resolution. Welcoming Tamir Novotny, our executive director, who are going to jump in and tell you the most up-to-date preview of Conference 2016. So,
thank you, Biz. And you're switching the screen over to me. Great. Hi, everyone. Can everybody hear me? I'm Tamir Novotny. I'm the Executive Director of EPIP, and I want to thank you guys for joining me. I am so excited to talk with all of you about this year's national conference. It has been a massive team effort. As Biz said, we've had a planning committee of 20 or 25 EPIP members sort of making decisions soup to nuts about what we're doing together and how we're going to approach the time. And so I'm just psyched to be able to brag about all their amazing work. And let's dig in. So the first thing that I want to emphasize is that EPIP is really the only gathering nationally developed by rising leaders in philanthropy for rising leaders in philanthropy. And as you all know, about 45% of our members identify as people of color, nearly 2/3 women, and 8% LGBTQ. And frankly, there's not a ton of safe spaces at the national level for folks, whether it's a function of identity or a matter of just still being relatively new or relatively not high ranking in the field to come together, talk about the field, both share our aspirations for what philanthropy can be, but also, frankly, deal with some of the frustrations and challenges that come with working in such a complex environment. And so a lot of our members come to the conference and describe the experience, to use their words, of finding their tribe. And that certainly was the case for me. EPIP's conferences are part of the reason that I'm here today. As I talked about already, our conference is curated by a group of really amazing members. These are just a few photos of members of the planning committee, and they're all really passionate about developing content that both resonates for them, but that they believe will be valuable to you all. And it's a mix of digging into really critical issues in the field and giving you sort of nuts and bolts strategies and tactics that you can take back to work. I'm going to talk a little bit about this, and then I'm going to turn it over to Storm Gray to talk a little bit more. So one of the things that I'm really excited about this year is that we've deliberately curated the conference tracks to focus on issues that will help us for the first time explore our point of view as a community about philanthropy. So the idea is that not only are we going to talk about these issues, but these issues are going to inform how we as an organization, on behalf of our community, talk about philanthropy and our aspirations for philanthropy. So with that, let me turn it over to Storm to talk about the conference tracks and the plenaries around which they are organized.
Thank you, Tamir. So I'm very excited for this upcoming conference. This will have been my second EPIP conference that I've attended, and I can say without a doubt that everyone has been working very hard to pull together a conference experience that will truly resonate with everyone who has the ability to attend. And before I get into the tracks and the plenaries, I just wanted to say my own personal thank you to those who've worked with me on the plenary committee. Everyone's been very thoughtful, very intentional to try and curate some sessions on the plenary level that will get people energized and motivated and really stay in line with the overall conference tracks. So the way in which I think about the tracks for this upcoming conference and the way in which, I see the plenaries in my head, we started at the field-wide level. In our very first plenary, we'll be talking about unfinished business in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how to build inclusion inside and out at our organizations, and how do organizations and foundations really walk the talk in terms of staff engagement and community engagement and other stakeholder engagement. And then how can you pave the way as a foundation for emerging leaders and actually retain them in that same energy for the benefit of the larger social sector and philanthropic sector. So that's kind of at a field-wide level. Then for our second plenary, which dovetails onto track number 2 that deals with place, power, and politics, we're actually going to take a look at philanthropy's role in place-based funding, specifically at Baltimore, since that's where we'll be. We thought it would be most appropriate, in addition to, the uprising that happened last year in Baltimore and a number of the community uprisings that have been happening across the country. This plenary will talk about how can philanthropy learn from and support community-driven change, and what can we learn from community leaders as partners in advancing issues that affect communities across the country. And we'll have several community leaders from the Baltimore, Maryland area that will be on that panel to speak to some of that, in addition to a couple of other philanthropic leaders that will also join in that conversation. Then for the last plenary, which ties into track number 3, which is the focus is leadership for equity in the 21st century, we're bringing back the Emerging Leader Salons. And those of you who have attended EPIP conferences in the past know the Emerging Leader Salon is a plenary where we have several leaders within the philanthropic sector, multi-generational leaders from different points in their careers with different career trajectories that come and basically share their story. It's an inspirational conversation about the why. Why are you in philanthropy? Why do you do what you do? How did you get here? And after after that larger plenary discussion around the individual journey and looking ahead in regards to potential insights and implications for leadership for equity in the 21st century, those same panelists will break into subsequent smaller sessions where participants will have the ability to have a more a cozier one-on-one, or not one-on-one, but a smaller, more intimate conversation facilitated by that plenary person. So at the Emerging Leader Salon, if there's a particular person whose story really resonates with you, afterwards you'll have the ability to go into breakout sessions to hear more from them and ask them questions with your fellow colleagues. And that's looking at the individual. So the three plenaries tied to the three tracks, plenary one being more of a high-level organization feel-wide look, plenary two looking more at the community and where does philanthropy intersect with community engagement and community leadership, and then with the third plenary really looking at the individual story and how does that resonate and how does that tie and where can an emerging leader continue in terms of the work that we all do and how that may shape and will shape the future of the sector. So I'm very excited about the plenaries that we've got lined up. We've got some really great speakers that I think you all will very much enjoy, and it's really been a pleasure to work on this with my colleagues, and I look forward to seeing you all there.
Thank you, Storm, and I just want to acknowledge to everybody who's on the line the incredible amount of work that Storm and her fellow working group leaders. Our planning committee is organized in 6 different working groups, and they've really just taken on much more than I would have expected, and it's made the work so much better. And so I'm just endlessly grateful for their energy and commitment, and wanted to acknowledge that here. Once we get through the plenaries, my sense is that we'll be at a place where folks will say, yeah, I'm on board, right? I believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion in philanthropy, but what do I do about it, right? Especially if I don't have a lot of formal authority, or I'm running into challenges, or my organization is really committed to this, but maybe we're struggling a little bit. What can I do to be a part of moving the field into the future, and specifically in my own organization? And so that is the organizing idea around our workshops. So each of the workshops you see on this list comes out of the tracks that also organize the plenaries. Each of these has been curated by a working group member. We got about 35 different proposals from around the country. And this is, I don't think the list does justice to just how much depth there is behind some of these, but the idea is to bring you different perspectives on what it really means to implement and give you a more small group setting with which, to dig into how we can actually take some of these tools and ideas home. And for those of you who are looking for ways to convince your employer that this is something worth supporting, one of the big selling points for me when I was an EPIP member was, this is an opportunity for me to bring new relationships and skills and ideas back to the organization. I can share them with my peers when I get back, and I can share them with you, and we can talk about what they mean for us. Now I want to talk about the future of EPIP, and this for me is like top 3 most exciting things. I could write a listicle, and maybe nobody would read it but me, but I would think it was really exciting. So we are just starting on a journey to chart the future of our community. And what I tell people is I've been going around the country, talking to folks, meeting with our chapter leaders, attending conferences. People come up to me all the time and they say, you know, Tamir, I was involved with EPIP 10 years ago, 15 years ago when it first started. Now I'm, you name it, running a foundation. I'm the CEO of this network. I'm a consultant doing exactly what I want to do. And I don't know where I'd be if not for EPIP. And EPIP members continue to tell me today that EPIP is the place where folks can show up and lead as their authentic selves. And that's very affirming of our role in the community, and there's that safe space and leadership development function that we will always hold sacred. And at the same time, it speaks to challenges that people face in the rest of their lives. that we want to be able to do something about. And so we're moving toward a point where while we keep members at the center of everything that we do, we are starting to explore how we can lift our voice as a community and serve as a platform for the organizing of us as a community and of individual members or groups of members who care about the practice of philanthropy, who want to be a part of an intergenerational movement for equity in and through philanthropy. And so the conference is going to be an opportunity for us to talk to each other a little bit about what that could look like. What do we think philanthropy can and should be? What do we believe about the power of philanthropy today and the amazing things that philanthropy is already doing? And if you haven't seen it, take a look at the Reasons for Hope hashtag on Twitter. It's a campaign to bring attention to things that foundations are supporting that relate to the movement moment that we're in. And so we're still working on the specifics of what that's going to look like, but there will be chances for folks to share some of their thoughts, values, aspirations, and challenges in a way that will directly inform our strategic plan and really just the beginning of our effort to engage our full community in the process. Excuse me for a second, there's a pop-up here. Now I'm off the screen. So now I want to turn it over to Jessica, and she's going to talk about two things. One, we're going to go into a little more depth on the emerging leader salons, but there's also an oversight in the deck. So there's a slide missing about the way that we are deliberately honoring the local. So you'll see in the plenaries that we endeavor to bring folks from Baltimore both into the workshops and the plenaries whenever we can, and we're very cognizant of the host city that we're in. You won't see us doing social justice safari stuff, but we are going to do, we're going to have some really compelling programming that helps us get deeper contact with leaders in the community. So I'll turn it over to Jessica. Oh, sorry, I just got mixed up, didn't I? First, we're going to talk about the field leaders piece, and then I'll turn it over to Megan to talk about the work that we'll be doing with community leaders and some of the healing spaces that will be created at the conference. Sorry about that. Jessica?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I just wanted to, Storm did a great job of explaining the EPIP Leader Salon, so I just wanted to give a little bit of a personal take on it. When I attended in 2014, it was a time when the Southern California Philanthropy had been experiencing some change, and it was really exciting at the time to be able to meet Judy Belk, who had just been recently appointed maybe a month before the EPIP conference and before the EPIP Leader Salon, to the CEO of the California Wellness Foundation. And it was kind of funny that I went all the way to Washington, D.C. to meet somebody who was really going to be making such an impact locally in Southern California and in California broadly. And I remember going back to my colleagues here at First 5LA and being able to say, I met Judy Belk, she's great, I heard some of her backstory, and everybody was like, how were you able to meet her so quickly? She just was appointed. And it was really because of EPIP and the leader salons. And I also know that a lot of the chapters have taken on this kind of mode of bringing in a seasoned philanthropy professional and having one-on-one talks with them and be able to kind of delve into, in a way, how they got where they are and what recommendations they have for us as we, explore our career in philanthropy and elsewhere in the sector, and what they would recommend we would do. So I really just believe that taking that time to create this, intimate salon and allow for the intergenerational learning and dialogue is really important. We know that a lot of the work has been going on for decades, and we want to hear about what their experiences are and what their obstacles that they've been able to overcome. And I think it's really an opportunity to hear directly from them about their experiences and insights in the field. I know that we haven't announced our EPIP Leader Salon panelists quite yet for this conference, but I would definitely look out for that as the information is delivered, because I think choosing early who you want to hear from in that kind of intimate opportunity after the panel is one of the key pieces that you'll walk away from the conference having made that connection with that individual. So I'll turn it over to Megan.
Great, thank you so much. And I am so excited to be on the planning committee for this conference, but also to be attending as a first-time attendee. I have heard so many incredible things and really wanted to go last year and couldn't make it work. And so I'm really excited that the conference is coming to my home state and my hometown of Baltimore. It's very serendipitous. So I have been on the local content working group, and we have been working on creating and organizing off-site learning experiences, or learning tours as other conferences refer to them, and also creating a place for self-care and healing in the conference. So one thing that has been a major focus for us since the beginning was self-care. And so our fearless leader, Allison McNeil, who's our work group chair, has been leading the charge to organize a program that will happen, I believe, on our first official day, September 14th. That'll be focused on healing spaces to replenish the soul, and that will happen throughout the day, and they will be there will be 3 healing group sessions. One will be a healing group session for non-Black attendees of color. One will be a healing group session for our white attendees, and then one will be one for our Black attendees. And that will take place all day with a facilitator. And then we will have 3 learning tours on the 13th. One will be focused on the arts, one will be focused on community wealth building, and then another one will be focused on youth-adult partnerships in philanthropy. So I think we have a really good mix to appeal to our wide interests as an EPIP organization. And I'm happy to answer any additional questions on the specifics, and if they're not already on the website, they will be shortly, I believe.
Thank you. A couple of quick things. One, while I don't believe we've posted the speakers for the Emerging Leaders Salon to the website yet, I can share with you a couple of names. One is the head of funders for LGBTQ issues, Ben Francisco Malbec. And another is Monisha Kapila from Pro-Inspire. Both of them have long histories with EPIP, and we love them dearly. And then we've got a couple of really wonderful folks who we're just doing final confirmations with. So it's going to be a fabulous lineup of you know, both established and like sort of leaders who are just blowing up, and we're really excited about it. The other thing that I wanted to add just about the local piece is, I think you all have, if you've seen the emails from me, you know that a lot of our members, especially in the last few months with everything that's been happening since Orlando, but that we all know have been going on for a long time, it's been a pretty tough summer. And we know that between just contending with the sort of scary time that we live in, and how bad news can feel constant and overwhelming. And then on top of that, just dealing with the demands of being in this field, figuring out, you know, is this the place for me? How do I navigate these tough dynamics? How do I get so-and-so to listen to my point? I know I'm right about this. It can really wear you out. And I think we've all been there. And so I'm really proud that our conference is a space where not only people can do that naturally, but that we intentionally create strategies. And as Megan said, I really want to credit Allison for bringing the group Unchained Healing to us, and it's led by a woman who is a founder of Black Lives Matter DC, and we're just finalizing a contract with her to do those healing sessions. And in case anybody is wondering, they're differentiated by design, out of recognition that people's experience of social injustice varies depending on the identities they carry. So it's meant to give people safe spaces and spaces where their healing can be a little bit tailored to them. So with that, why don't we come back to that? Why don't we pause for Q&A? Yeah. So if anybody has questions, and Biz, stop me if I'm saying this wrong, you can type them into the chat box, or can people raise their hands? Put them into the question box. I see there's one. Well, oh, that was a technical question. Do we have any other questions for the members of the planning committee? Just going to give it a moment here. Or Storm, Megan, or Jessica, is there anything that you guys would want to add?
This is Storm. I would say if you have never been to an EPIP conference and if you are able to come, please do. I think it's a wonderful experience and it's a good time to stay with your peers and work others share ideas, share thoughts, share frustrations.
Storm, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Your signal is very choppy. I'm not sure if others are having a hard time hearing you, but I'm having a really hard time.
Is that any better?
Keep going.
So I would just say, you know, the conference is a great chance to meet and connect with your colleagues and peers and to hear about the work that's being done and to just share ideas, thoughts, and, you know, concerns, whatever. So it'll be a great time, and that's pretty much it for me. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it and hoping to see a number of you there.
Thank you.
And the only thing I'd add is that it's a great size conference because you're not going to be stuck in halls with hundreds of, you know, almost thousands of people. That I've been to conferences where you don't even see the same face twice. You really have the opportunity to meet people one-on-one, to really create some lasting bonds, hopefully, that you'll be able to take back and lean on when as you go through this work that, as Tamir said, it's tough work, and I'm really glad we landed on this last slide about re-energizing and replenishing your soul, because I do think EPIP conference can really be an opportunity to do that as well.
It looks like a couple people have questions. If you guys can help answer both of these questions. The first is, do you have tips for first-time attendees? And the second is more about the workshop track selection process. So maybe first, if folks have tips for first-time attendees, please.
Anybody want to take that one?
This is Storm. Do I sound okay?
Yeah, I can make you out now. Thank you.
Okay, I would just say for first-time attendees, come with an open mind, bring your business cards, and just, you know, really all the conferences that I've attended with, you know, within philanthropy, EPIPS is probably one of the most, if not the most, open and welcoming in terms of everyone is just excited to be there and excited to have conversation and meet new people. And because the size is very intimate, it makes it very easy to run into familiar faces and have side conversations at some of the networking and after hours things. So just, you know, bring yourself, bring a couple business cards, and just be prepared to have a good time and be inspired.
This is Megan. I might add, just from a logistical visitor standpoint, to the extent that you can, build in a little bit of time for fun. I think the hotel is very conveniently located right in the in walking distance to the Inner Harbor. The National Aquarium is there. And there's dragon boats. Just don't fall into the water. It's my only caveat.
I'd say that's pretty good advice, not falling into the water. We do have another question about content. Do we pre-select workshop tracks, or are the tracks just a tool to help understand the balance of content available at the conference? So do people who are coming to the conference have to choose one track, or how do they navigate the course of the event?
Anybody want to jump in on that one?
I could. This is Storm again. The tracks. So the short answer to that question is no. You do not have to pick a particular track, because what I think the workshop committee has done an excellent job of doing is selecting workshops that were submitted by members that basically encompass several of those tracks. So take a look at the workshops, and when you see the actual schedule, really feel free to go to the workshops that speak to you, and don't worry as much, I think, and anyone feel free to jump in and add. I think, don't pin yourself to any one track, because I think that what we've tried to do is provide a conference experience that is inclusive of all three tracks, because all three tracks are important in some way, shape, or form to the field and to the individual within the field.
Did anybody want to add to that? So if anybody has any additional questions, please feel free to drop them into the question box. If this isn't too infomercially a question, I'm just wondering from each of the three of you, what's the thing that you're most excited about?
Sure, this is Jessica. I'm most excited about the fact that it's in Baltimore. I haven't been to the city in a professional capacity. I've always been as a visitor when I lived in DC. So I am excited to be in a different location than a lot of conferences have been recently, and then that we're also actually talking about what's going on there and not just using it as a backdrop of a nice place to have an event. So I'm really excited about being in Baltimore and learning from people who live and work there as well.
This is Storm. I think what I'm most excited about for this conference is a chance to reconnect with some of the friends that I've met and made through EPIP, and to meet new folks and to hear, the perspectives, and really attend some of these workshops and to hear about some of the work that other folks are doing.
This is Megan. I think I'm excited for so much, but at the top of my list is connecting and learning from fellow emerging leaders in philanthropy. I think that is definitely the top for me.
Awesome. Okay, so it doesn't look like we have more questions right now, but of course feel free to add in anything. Let's go through a couple of last things. So one is, if you haven't registered for the conference, please do so. Members get a pretty significant discount off of general admission. Institutional members get a slightly steeper discount. If you're not sure if you're an EPIP member or an institutional member, get in touch with us. If you are trying to convince your boss or your employer that this is worth them sending to you, I don't have the link in here, which is an oversight, but we can tweet it out or find a way to get it to you. One of our planning committee members put together an awesome slide deck that's really just about asking for the professional development support you need, but it happens to be tailored to conference because that's what we were focused on at the time. It's also on the conference page if you scroll all the way down to the bottom. So it's that first link and just scroll down to the bottom of the page. It's really good and really helpful and has some other useful resources as well. If the cost of the conference is not being supported by your employer and it's an issue for you, we are, for the first time, experimenting with a scholarship lottery. So you can click on the bottom link on the page and sign up, and you get from that a comp registration, 2 free nights at the hotel, and a travel reimbursement of up to $300. And I would be remiss if I didn't add that we are also raising money for that fund to expand access as much as possible to the conference. We know that as hard as it is for folks who are early in their careers to get professional development support, for some folks, even with the support, it doesn't get you all the way there. So we're asking anybody in our community who can to contribute as little as $5 to help us get as many people to the conference as we can. EPIP is matching donations up to a total of $5,000. Guys, is there anything else that we should include that I haven't touched on?
I don't think so.
This is Biz. I'll just say quickly that if you're on the call still and you want to access that slide deck Tamir talked about to help you get tips to ask for support from your community or your employer, in the handout section of your control panel, we've uploaded the PDF in there. So feel free to check it out there. And of course, obviously look at the website and let us know if you have questions.
Thanks, and I'm trying to open it here so you can see it because it's really cool. There we go. Can everybody see that? Awesome. So this is a super great slide deck that Julia Yang Wakenback developed for us. So I think that is it. It was an efficient webinar. Of course, if anybody has follow-up questions, you can email us. We have a conference email address, conference@epip.org, or you can email Biz or me, biz@epip.org or Tamir@epip.org. Thank you for the time today. We hope to see you in September. Tell your friends. And just really excited to connect or reconnect with you all next month.